Yeah, great.
No.
Okay, good. All right, I think we're ready to get started. Julma, you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, I just want to welcome everyone to the first session of this incredible one-day diversity and inclusion event, including you, and it's presented by the Expat Spouses Initiative together with Living in Brainport Development and the Holland Expat Center. I will be your session moderator. I'll be following the chats. My name is Megan Mcbride, and I am honored to be one of the talents within the Expat Spouses Initiative Women for Women program. I'm thrilled to introduce your presenter today, Julma Braat. I've seen her presentation. It's really wonderful. She's an HR policy advisor at TUE, and she's responsible for recruitment and career management of academic staff. Today, she'll be sharing the bold and groundbreaking efforts taking place at TUE to close the gender gap and to attract more talented female scientists. Welcome, Julma.
Thank you, Megan, and welcome to all of you listening and watching us out there. Please ask your questions along the way. Maureen will collect your questions and then she will interrupt me if you have any questions that you would like to ask. I will tell you more about the introduction of our Irène Curie Fellowship program, the reasons why we developed it, and what we have learned so far since we started it 1.5 years ago. And this slide is very important to me because it shows why and for whom we have our program. Talented female scientists from all over the world, as you can see, and these women are all currently working at TUE. But first, I want to take you back and tell you more about the starting situation. This slide shows you the percentage of female professors in the EU countries. And as you can see in the yellow bar, Netherlands is right at the end of Europe, despite the fact that we all think that we are very progressive. And then when you zoom into the Netherlands, our university, TUE, is also right at the bottom of all the Dutch universities. So this was a situation that we were not very proud of, but which did inspire us as well. And our starting point in 2018 was that 22% of our faculty was female. And you can also see the other numbers. 14% was full professor, 13 associate professor, and 24% was assistant professor, which is the starting level for a permanent position. But our ambition was higher. We aim for 30% of our overall female staff to be, our overall staff to be female. 20% of full professors, 25 associate, and 35 of assistant professors. And but our pace was too slow. If we did not do anything, or if we continued along the way that we had been, we would not achieve our goal and obtain these percentages. So we argue that disruptive measures are required. And to increase our share of female scientists, it's just one simple job. We need to attract more women. And 2019 offered us the ideal circumstances. Because of additional national funding, we could open up a high number of vacancies and make a real impact. So this inspired us to start our disruptive approach. Our rector and our chief diversity officer initiated the Irène Curie Fellowship program. And the picture that you see here is Irène Curie herself, which is the daughter of a very well-known mother, Marie Curie. And for us, she stands for the next generation of scientists. Our recruitment policy was for 5 years, and we target the influx of female faculty. So we are fixing the numbers there, not fixing the women, but fixing the numbers. And for the first 6 months, only female candidates are able to apply for our vacancies. After 6 months, we will repost the vacancy and then consider all applicants. And after 1 year, we see that it has worked. 50 female hires and 48 male hires, which leaves us at a percentage of 51% of our hires being female. And we would never have achieved this without the program. Going back to the introduction and to the launch of the Irene Curie Fellow program, we also never expected this much attention. It was picked up in national media, but also in international media and in the scientific world. We had interviews with science magazine Nature, which is for us very good, and which also showed the relevance of the program that we designed. And as you can see here, we received many positive responses, like people saying, okay, it's good that you actually are doing something, because we have tried for so long, and like we did in the past, it's not working well enough. But there were also many negative responses based on all the known assumptions that no extra effort is needed because real talent will show itself eventually. And that it's also not good to highlight only one type of diversity, or that we were plainly discriminating men. And that is something that we heard more. So is it discrimination? Many formal complaints came in at the Dutch Anti-Discrimination Agency, and they asked for the opinion of the Netherlands Institute of Human Rights. And after 2 hearings, this institute concluded that our program was not proportional to the goal that we intended. The application was too broad, and the exclusion of male candidates was too far-reaching. But they also found many positive findings, and I highlighted them on this page because I think that these are really important. The Institute for Human Rights concluded that we are trying to achieve a legitimate goal, and that it is currently supported by public discussion and developments. And we have proved that there is a serious backlog of women in scientific positions. And due to the implicit gender bias that we all have, women have had fewer opportunities than men to be appointed and to make a career, and even more so in the technical universities. And increasing gender diversity, of course, also has all kinds of other positive effects, because diverse and inclusive teams lead to better science and to more innovative and more successful organizations. And the final point is also really important. Female role models for students will also lead to more female students choosing an academic career, and also for more women choosing an academic study, which is called the multiplier effect. So what are our next steps? We are currently redesigning the program. It was paused after the findings of the Institute for Human Rights, and we are now redesigning it based on the advice that we get from them. And we also think that it is very important that our program is embedded in a bigger frame. So we have other measures as well. So we are trying, we have set new gender targets towards 2025. We have developed a de-bias training that is available for all our scientific staff. We will conduct a pay gap analysis every 2 years, because we feel that it is very important that we create the same conditions for women as well as for men. We are developing also a gender equality plan, which highlights all the measures that are in place and that are geared towards gender equity. But it is very important that we provide good conditions for everybody to thrive in our organization. So we are currently improving our onboarding process, and we are working very hard to retain all the female talent that we have attracted, because we do not want them to come in the front by the front door and leave by the back door. And then in sorry, so I'm doing something wrong. Yes, here I am again. 5 years from now, what is our dream? That these things, these measures will be a thing from the past. When we have achieved this 30% female share of female faculty, we believe that this is the tipping point, that a minority stops being a minority, and that we will be able to have sustainable change. So we aim for at least 25% to be full professor, and that TUE will be a more diverse and more inclusive, and because of that, also a higher ranked university. And that it will be even more fun, attractive, and innovative and groundbreaking place to work and study. This concludes my presentation. If you want to know more, please visit our channels on social media, or also the webpage for the Irene Curie Fellowship. Thank you.
That was wonderful, Julma. Thank you so much. We've started to get questions from the audience, so are you ready to answer some of those?
Of course.
Awesome. Okay, well, the first one that we got was around the debiasing training. They want to know, is it mandatory, and have you had any reaction to that training?
No, it is not mandatory, because we feel that making such a training mandatory has a contradictory effect to what you are trying to achieve. People have to go there also because of their interest, and because they believe that it is important. So it is raising the awareness that we all have a bias, because women also have a bias. And we give them some more theory on what your bias can be, and what specific types of bias we have. And then we also have a role play with actors, that you can see how easy it is that you step into this trap that we have in our mind.
Great answer. Another question that we received was around payment. If the transparency, I think they're talking about salaries.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, that is the pay gap check. And we have conducted it, and we are currently waiting for the results of that. So I cannot go into detail, but we do believe that there will be, if there are differences, that they will be small. But we think that it is very important that this is not just our feeling, but that we can prove it. And if there should there be a pay gap, so that we pay women scientists less than our male scientists, then we will also take action to close the gap.
Awesome. Thanks, Julma. So follow up on just women and recruiting women. Are there particular steps to include women of color, since we know it's not just one homogeneous group of women, there's a lot of diversity within the category of women?
Yeah. Yeah, I really understand this question, and it is also a very yeah. So the topic is also discussed in the Netherlands right now, but our university is quite international, and the groups that we recruit are also coming from all over the world. So we do not specifically target women of color, but we do get women with a Chinese nationality or from Latin America, or I do say that we have less people from Africa. But so we do get different ethnicities also in our university. And to get a more equal distribution from people with a migrant background in the Netherlands, we are now also focusing on more on our students there, so that you have what is called a first generation student. So with parents who have not attended university, you want to attract them as well, and also create role models for them to see that this is an achievable goal.
Great. So we're getting some questions, actually more than one, about how they can find information about programs at TUE, whether as a student or to work at TUE. So do you have any information for them if they want to, say, contact an HR recruiter, or if they want to get into one of the programs as a female?
Well, as I said, the program is currently paused. I expect that we can relaunch it again in March. And so more information about the Irène Curie Fellowship is on the page that is also highlighted at the moment. We have a page that focuses on diversity and inclusion in the university. So if you just visit the TUE webpage and then type in as a search diversity and inclusion, I think you will go there. And for questions about our jobs, just visit Working at TUE. Also, you will see which vacancies we have at the moment. And you can contact me or the email address hiringtalent@TUE also for more information.
Great. Okay, so we have another question around leadership. Do you have the buy-in from the leadership decision-making team at TUE, and how do you see the leaders walking the talk?
A very good question, because I think that this is one of the most important issues. So as I said, Frank Bijens, our rector, has initiated the program, and before we launched it, we needed the buy-in from all the academic heads of our departments, which are the deans. So we really discussed the program with the deans, and they are then responsible for the buy-in in their departments. And there you see that there are, well, some departments are more proactive in it. The example that I always like to give is the Department of Applied Physics. They really set the example in our university for me. They're the dean asked all of his group leaders, so the senior managers, to come up with names of talented female scientists. And he just said, never mind if you think that they want to come to our university or not, just give me their names. I will reach out to them. And so he did. He personally sent an email to every one of these talented females. And I think more than half responded positively. Yes, I would like to know more about working in your department and at your university. So that's where we entered in contact. And also their example was awarded last week or 2 weeks ago by the Dutch Physics Association and NV. So you see that it is work and that it is an example. And this also helps us because they are now an ambassador to get it further into the university.
That's great. That's a great result.
Yeah.
So, you know, in the session at the beginning, the panel session, I heard them talk about behavior changes, and you actually referenced disruptive measures. And I'm curious, how have the changes that you've put in place as a result of this program, increasing women, how has that impacted TUE? Have you noticed changes?
Maybe that is a bit too quick to actually see these changes already. But what we have shown them is that if you are proactive and if you look in different ways towards an issue, that you come up with new ideas. And so we have proven that there are talented women out there and that they are also willing to work in our university. So you see that this has created a change already. In some fields, the teams are getting more diverse than ever. And of course, this also brings about new ways of working, but these are still beginning. So you need a longer time to see the actual cultural change. But yes, I think that we are making positive changes already.
Yeah, well, I think along those lines, a question that comes up has to do with how are you retaining these women now that they're in the workplace, now that you're hiring? Are you doing anything special to ensure that they're staying in the university?
So we are currently very busy with our onboarding program, which is of course the first time that they are here, which is even more complicated now that we are all working from home. Some of our new hires have just started from their own living room and have not yet met their colleagues in real life. So that makes it really challenging, and we try to do very small things. So I organize lunch sessions with all the Irene Curie Fellows so that they are able to build their network, but also say, hey, I like what you are doing in this field. Do you know that there's also somebody else in that department working on something similar? So we bring them into contact with each other and expand their network because relationships are really important there. Yeah, that's one example, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a great example because some of the questions I'm seeing are around how you're making women comfortable at the workplace after they are hired. And I think that it sounds like you're really thinking about that, and you're putting, and I think you had mentioned to me too, a mentorship program that was in place there.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So we have a mentorship program, but that is available for all new hires. So we do want to make that available for everybody, because if you can learn from your mentor who already knows how to advance your career in Dutch academia or to open doors for you, that is very valuable. And also another example is, that is also a development that is going on in all Dutch universities. We are rethinking our criteria. So what is necessary to advance your career in academia? And because there may also be biased criteria. In academia, it is very important that you also have an international network. So one of our past criteria was that you needed international experience. But when you are starting as an assistant professor, you are in your early 30s, which is for many people also the point that you are starting your family. And then it is very complicated to move your entire family just to gain the international experience. But so how can we look at that criterion or look at the goal that we want to achieve to have an international network in another way? So there we also try to rethink everything that is going on.
Yeah, I think we have time for one more question, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. And what I'm seeing is the interest in replicating this for other business areas. So I'm curious if you want to talk about any of the challenges, or what do you think was preventing women from joining TUE in the past, or maybe even just what other employers that are trying to do this kind of work can expect?
Well, what I heard so often in the past is, but there are just no women in our fields. And I get really annoyed when I hear this comment, because I think there are talented women in every field. It is just that you need to think differently and be very proactive. Maybe not make a very detailed vacancy, but think along the line of what you are trying to achieve, and so what kind of person would fit very well. So make your vacancy more broad than very narrow. And so look for talent, not look for a specific vacancy, but look for talent. And so if you try to do that, you come up with new people. Be proactive, and not just wait and see who applies to your vacancy, but reach out, search.
Thank you. Well, that was incredible. And I think the program that you're doing is so important. And so I really want to thank you, Julma, and I want to thank everyone who joined the presentation today. Yeah, there were some wonderful questions, and I hope we got them all answered. Some of the things that really stuck out to me that I thought were great was when you said that you were not fixing women, but you were fixing the numbers. I think that's great to remember. This isn't something that's broken with women. This is something systematic that we need to take on. And I really love the example of considering how you write job descriptions, even, because sometimes there's implicit bias in the way that we put together those job descriptions that make it so that they're that women don't feel like there's a space for them in that position. So I think that's excellent advice, and those are very practical things that organizations can start to do. So thank you again, and yeah, I just really appreciate you being here, Julma.
Thank you.